Now, I've got a quick intro for you today, folks, because there's really no definitive history on a blue quill mayfly. 150 years ago, somebody probably just took a quill Gordon and tied it in dun colors to match a specific mayfly. Which, there is a little blue dun-colored mayfly that is one of the first ones to hatch here on the East Coast every year. And the one I'm going to tie for you today is from Mike Valla's classic dry fly box. Well, sort of it is, because I'm cheating a little bit. I rarely ever tie a true quill body dry fly. Probably don't have any of them in my dry fly boxes, but what I do tie them with is a thread body with a thread rib. Now, I realize a thread body is probably a little bit more dense and the fly won't be as buoyant as one tied with a real quill, but that's a trade-off I can live with because the fly is just so much easier to tie with a thread body. And from a few feet away, you really can't tell much difference. So there it is in the vise, a pretty standard looking blue quill. Of course, it's a cheater's version because that's not actually a quill body, it's a thread body, meant to look kind of like a quill body. This is a size 12, standard length, barbless, dry fly hook. And the thread I'm going to use is a dun colored, a blue dun colored. What I want the body to be. That's the bulk of my thread here. And this is a 70 denier. If I had this in a 140, I would definitely be using it. It would just take fewer wraps when we're making this body here in just a second. So go ahead and catch that in. Take your thread to the back. And we'll catch in our tail, it's just going to be dun colored hackle fibers. So take a dozen or so barbs right there. That's probably more than a dozen, but it's going to work. And we'll catch them in kind of long. I mean, it is a dry fly, Catskill type fly. Let's see, I don't really want them flared too much up, so take a few wraps back. And I got a big mess up front. I didn't snip those. You can see I just plucked them out of the feather. But I think we can, you know what, we're going to have to snip them. But that's okay, that didn't take too long. Okay, now let's take our thread back up front, and we're going to catch in a rib, which is going to be black thread. And I'm going to use a 140 denier thread right here. If you were using 70 denier, I'd probably use 2 strands. So we'll just catch that in, and now take our thread back, and we're going to build our body out of this dun colored thread. So we want all of the body of the fly to be this kind of gray right here. So it might take you a couple layers, certainly since I'm using a 70 denier right here, but you know, do what you got to do. We'll take it back and then back up again, and just until we get enough gray body on here. Okay, I think that's fine. You can see my wax thread is showing a little bit of that wax right there. I'm going to snip off this tag right here. And now I'm going to wrap this rib. And I'm going to spin it together, try to keep it corded up just a little bit so it doesn't get too flat or fat on me. And I don't want to get these too close together. If you get them too close together, the fly will look more black than gray. So I'm going to try to spread them out a good bit here, but go ahead, wrap it up. It's going to give you 5 or 6 wraps, I think, to get up front. Okay, I think that is a fair enough representation of a quill body there. And now we're just going to take 2 slips from standard duck mallard feather here. You know, I did get 2 from one from a left and one for a right, but I don't waste or spend a whole lot of time worrying about that. But I do try to keep them with the convex sides together to keep them a little bit splayed out. Even that's not all that vital because we can put some X wraps in between them, and we probably will here in just a minute anyway, to keep them apart. So a few wraps right there, get them caught in. And I'm getting a little bit close to my eye right here, but I think we're going to be fine. So let's just keep these separated. We'll put a wrap in between them. We'll go with 2 wraps in between them right here. And so if you look at those right there, they're pretty much spent, which is not really what I'm looking for. So I'm going to lift them up and then put some wraps up under them to prop them up, and that'll get them a little bit closer together as well. So you see that? That's kind of what I want. And don't worry if they mangle up a little bit on you. They usually do. But take your thread a little bit back behind the wings, because I'm going to get at least 3 wraps of hackle behind the wings and then maybe 1 or 2 in front of it if I can pull that off. So we're going to take a dun colored hackle here. That gives us some barbs at about, I don't know, 1 to 1.5 times. That's about it right there. And we'll just catch it in back here behind the wings. Again, 3 wraps, possibly 4 behind it. And I'm going to leave that stem up in front of the wings before I snip it off here. Okay, now just wrap this hackle. Let's see what it does for us. Okay, that's 4 behind them. Let's see if we can get 2 in front. Okay, I think we're fine, and that's enough hackle that this fly should float pretty well. Now let's pull everything back just a little bit. Put a few wraps here. We don't want to get a big head, but just enough to get a flat spot for our whip finish here. So there it is. Pretty standard blue quill dry fly without an actual quill body. So I appreciate you watching, everybody. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.